Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people, where we speak about critical issues in the blindness community and all other issues from across the universe and galaxy. Today, we are joined by someone who I have actually always wanted to interview for many years. This is someone who I met this person in real life roughly about 20 years ago, believe it or not. Her name is Jenny Suchan, and she does a tremendous amount for the blindness community and blind people all over the world. One of the things we're going to kind of delve into is your connection to the Inner Visions radio network, which is a very, very special station, and you do a tremendous classical music show. So what I would like you to do is to answer my question that I always like to ask people: who is Jenny Suchan? But I would like you to kind of walk through a little bit for a few moments, and I'll help you if you start to wander, but I would like you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you remember, how we met 20 years ago, and then kind of, illustrate your life from 20 years ago to now and how it has led you to create your wonderful classical music show that you host on the Inner Visions radio network. So you have some time on my microphone, so I'll mute my microphone. And who is Jenny Suchan? Go right ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Aaron. First of all, it is an honor to be here, and I am very happy to talk about myself, my passion for music, and also my radio show. So start with my background. I was born with retinopathy of prematurity. I lost what sight I had by the time I was 2. I was always very auditorily engaged, and my mom was my first musical inspiration. I have fond memories, some actual memories, but also from tapes that were recorded, of my mom singing to me songs from musicals and me singing along and just really enjoying myself. And that was the start of my passion for music. I have been in choirs ever since elementary school. And I also concurrently developed a passion for playing the piano, which I started to do when I was 3. And my parents, especially my dad, likes to recall fondly to anyone we meet, with whom we discuss music, that when I was 3, that this was the start of people really, my parents understanding how well I could play by ear. When I was 3, my parents were watching a well-known TV series called Murder, She Wrote, and I really enjoyed the theme tune. And I heard it, and I went over to the piano, and I started to play it with both hands. I mean, maybe not note perfect, but I played the melody, I improvised some chords, and my parents were absolutely impressed. So that started my love for the piano. And I took piano lessons, started in elementary school. I went through the phase, for some years of not really being disciplined as such, but then I took it back up in high school. And I was a music major in college, so I studied voice as my primary instrument, but piano as well, and I took a couple semesters of basic guitar along with that. I thought I would and may still pursue a career in music therapy. As for how you and I met, Aaron, I also had developed an interest in science, particularly started in high school with my honors chemistry course that I took in my freshman year of high school. You and I met in 2006 when we attended the space camp in Huntsville, Alabama. I don't recall which program you were in, but I was in the Advanced Space Academy where I got to do scuba diving and ride on some space simulators. It was a really fun and informative experience. And then you and I crossed paths again 2 years later, in the summer of 2008, when we were students at the Braille Music Institute at the Overbrook School for the Blind. That was also a wonderful educational experience that opened up many doors for me. I actually had the privilege of being allowed back the following year, because when I attended the Braille Music Institute my first year in 2008, that was my main educational goal then, was to prepare for my AP Music Theory course my senior year of high school, because learning to read music was required. Up until that point, I had done all of my music study, whether it be through classes or choir or piano lessons, anything like that. All of my music study was done by ear. So that's when I auditioned and was accepted into the program in 2008. Then I was allowed back the following summer because I wanted, and it was deemed that I needed to have a bit more training before tackling the much more rigorous demands of college music work. So I am very grateful for the program. I'm very grateful to have been allowed to participate 2 years in a row. And I met a lot of great people. I had some wonderful teachers. And there will always be a special place in my heart for that program. And as far as meeting you at the program, Erin, I seem to recall, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to recall that you were a flautist and you played at the talent show a movement from a Mozart flute concerto. Now, as for my interest in internet radio, that started for me in 2014. I had recently done a year at the Blind Industries and Services of Maryland training program. And that was a very interesting experience. Ups and downs, as will be in programs. But when I returned home from that program, I was in quite a transitional period, because during the program there was a lot of socialization. There were a lot of direct opportunities that were not as easily available moving back home. And all that is to say that my social circle and my access to activities wasn't as direct. So I experienced a lot of loneliness and a great need to network. So I got involved in an organization, a blindness organization that had international networking, and they had an accompanying radio station. And so I started out, I learned the basics of the trade, and I started out broadcasting, and I realized I was quite good at it, and I got a lot of compliments. I have since been on a couple stations after that point, and then that led me to the Intervisions Radio Network, which I joined in 2022. I actually had a look back at my archives, and my first classical music collection show was on April 29th, 2022. As for my love of classical music, I would say that was also very much, that was cultivated from an early age. As I've said before, my love for music in general that has very much been inborn, and even to this day, my music taste is quite eclectic. But My parents have always instilled in me a love of classical music. Um, my dad uh, has told me I don't really have personal memories because I was very young, but my dad told me that from a very young age, they would have tapes of Chopin nocturnes playing beside my bed. And it was partly to help with my stimulation and all of that to get me engaged. Because I had I was rather overstimulated as a child because it was hard to deal with a lot of sensory input. Um, Given that, me having lost, as I said, what vision I had from a very early age, and me trying in my way to make sense of the world. And I think my parents felt that calming music with calming sounds, they also played tapes of, say, oceans and rainforests and that sort of thing, would help with me to organize my world and be calmed and to be stimulated, to hear lots of different sounds. So one of my early musical experiences was listening to these Chopin nocturnes. And as I said, also singing selections from musicals with my mom. When I was in elementary school, it actually would probably have been more middle school into high school. My parents would take me, and sometimes a friend as well, to a local concert hall called the Strathmore Music Center. Growing up until 2017, I had lived in Potomac, Maryland. And so we were not far from this Strathmore Music Center. And this is, we've actually, when we started going to concerts, we went to the Kennedy Center, and then we went later on to the Strathmore Center. And all of these concert experiences were very eye-opening for me. And I loved not just the acoustics of the live performances, but also just I was immersed in the beauty of the sounds, and it really cultivated in me a strong passion to really understand how that all worked and to want to nurture the love for those sounds, but also to create it myself. I have composed, been playing around mainly on the piano, but also singing for years. I have not actually formally written any compositions down as of yet, anything that I would release as such, but that has been something that I have been exploring for years. And in fact, one of my courses as a music major was in music composition. But anyway, as I was saying about the concerts, so they were instrumental in me developing a love for the order, the beauty, the complexity of classical music. And so when I joined the Intervisions radio network, especially, I wanted to take a show of that nature to deeper levels. What I try to do during my shows is to pick a theme and play a variety of different pieces, not only from different time periods, but also different from within different subgenres. So there may be some purely orchestral pieces. There may be some choral, a cappella choral pieces, some combination. I also may throw in some symphonic metal pieces from time to time, some more crossover genres. I also sometimes, theme permitting, I may incorporate selections from musicals or orchestral jazz pieces. So say works by Nat King Cole or Duke Ellington or Ella Fitzgerald that have a strong orchestral backing. Because my argument for that, although I'm not doing a jazz show, I do like to incorporate jazz from time to time because as I experienced myself in taking a year of jazz choir and 2 semesters, a year of jazz piano. I was in a jazz choir my senior year of high school, and it took a year of jazz piano in my senior year of college. As I experienced through those courses, you need to know, or no, you do not need to. It is helpful to know the rules of classical to know how jazz breaks them. So in that way, I feel that the genres are linked. So that's why I like to play jazz occasionally on my classical show. But all that is to say, I like to incorporate as much variety as possible in my show, as well as feature comparisons. So what I try to do is I will find songs that are in the popular repertoire that have had symphonic adaptations. So I'll play the original and then the classical adaptation, or the other way around, classical pieces that have had modern, say, rock versions made of them, or more pop style interpretations. And what I like to do is to break down what I think of the different versions, the original versus alternate version. And I also like to ask the listeners what they think. And it's fine if nobody really wants to talk or has any necessarily has anything that they want to share, but I like to open it up for people to share their thoughts if they wish to. So that is how I would describe my show. And I intend to keep doing it. And I love sharing my passion for music. I love getting the sense, whether it be through direct listener comments or just generally sensing people's reactions. I love getting the knowledge of how much it seems that I touch people through the music that I play and how I describe the music.
You know, I had a feeling that you would deliver an incredible, incredible answer to that question, and I was right. I love the way you went through the whole chronology, and I do think you are very right. First of all, to backtrack, to walk backwards, to push the rewind,
Okay.
and that was. I actually, I gotta tell you, that was one of the finest answers that anyone has ever given. That was exactly what I wanted for the intro monologue. That was truly spectacular. It's exactly what I wanted you to say, all of that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure if you went to space camp with me the initial time when I was 12. which would have been around the year 2003-ish or 2004-ish.
No, it was 2006 when I went.
Maybe, perhaps. You're probably right. If you remember it then that's when it was. Also, the music camp, yeah, I do remember that. I remember, I do remember that at that point in my life, if you had a bad impression of Aaron Richmond in 2008, I completely understand. I was completely out of control at that age. I was toxically immature at that age. So, I actually understand, although it hasn't really occurred to me. Things are starting to occur to me now. I can completely understand why I was not invited back to that camp. But also I also had a lot of growing to do at that age, and I also had a lot going on. So I don't think I necessarily wanted to go back to that camp. By the way, I loved it. I loved the camp. It's an amazing program. The other really cute thing and silly thing that happened here at Aaron's Opinion. Do you know? Okay. Do you remember the man's name who actually was one of the leaders of that camp? Do you remember what his name was?
David Goldstein.
No. You made the same mistake that I did. Not David Goldstein. David Goldfield. David Goldstein, This is silly. This is prepare to laugh.
Okay.
David Goldfield ran the camp. David Goldstein, the reason why you're saying that name is because David Goldstein is the creator of the I Can See You podcast and White Canes Connect. That's why you're thinking of that, right?
I'm actually not familiar with either of those.
There's two people. It's very silly. There's two people with very similar names who are both blind, who are both influential in the blindness community. So the hysterical part of it was a few years back when I was interviewing David Goldstein from I Can See You podcast and the White Canes Connect podcast. Both are great podcasts, by the way. They're both incredible. They do what we do, but just a different audience, more for people from Pennsylvania. It's more of a Pennsylvania thing. But of course it's global like anything else is. But anyway, when I was getting ready to push record with him, I remember that I said, David, don't you remember that really immature kid at the music camp in 2008? And he says, no, you're confused. That's David Goldfield and I'm David Goldstein. So I was about to interview him the whole time and I would have thought that it was the same person, but it's bizarrely hysterical. There's a David Goldstein and a David Goldfield. The one at the camp that his name was not Steen, the suffix is not Steen, it's a field. In other words,
okay.
not the, so no, that's fine, Jenny, because I mixed up those names too, and we were laughing so hard because I thought
you were.
Because I thought I was going to interview someone who I thought it was, and I knew that I was interviewing the David, but I wasn't sure if that was the same. I almost thought that it was the wrong guy or the right guy, so yeah, podcasters do get mixed up. So I can understand where I wouldn't have been invited back to that camp at the time, but those years in my life, to make a long story short, were very traumatic years for me for a lot of very complex reasons. And I was, I was going through a lot, in 2008. I truly was. And then, so my music career, I've shifted to education and podcasting, but my music career would continue through university, which was 2010 all the way to 2014. And I did play the flute. You're right. And you're right. I did play in the talent show. So you're right. But that's all very entertaining. And then after university, I put the flute aside and I focused on my education and being bilingual and focusing on creating great episodes for you to listen to, which is why, to circle it all back, why I am so touched and so familiar with the important work you're doing. I want you to understand that creating a classical music show is something that is oftentimes undervalued. And we at Aaron's Opinion, we value what you do because we need that. We need people to be touched by classical music the same way that you have been and will be. I am ironically very familiar with Potomac, Maryland. It's actually where my mother grew up and it's actually where some of our distant relatives still live. And yes, I've been to Strathmore several times. That would have been the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra at Strathmore. Great facility. Then of course, Kennedy Center would have been the National Symphony Orchestra and the National Opera. Yes. So those are two incredible organizations. Strathmore and Kennedy Center are amazing places to be without any doubt. Without any doubt, those are amazing places. Yes. But you are very right that jazz is a music that it comes from the United States, and you are right. It is based upon imagination and improvisation, where classical music, where I was mostly trained on the flute, is based on not being creative at all and basically interpreting things that have already been extrapolated and interpreted to be played classically. So you're very right with that logic. Yes. But that's really excellent that you do all these things. And it's just so touching to have you back on the show, and so touching to have always known of you, and it was so great to finally get to professionally connect with you again. So I think another huge section to walk us through is, okay, so what is music to you? What is therapy to you? And what is music therapy? I mean, we've heard of it around the community, but not many people study it, and fewer people know exactly what it is. Talk for a bit about music therapy. Just kind of indulge us in that whole study of music and therapy.
So my personal definition of music therapy is, how does music connect with you? How does it resonate with you? Not just on an auditory vibrational level, but how does the music inspire you, connect with your emotions? How are you affected and perhaps healed or nurtured or helped in some way by listening to the music? And what about the music connects with you? I find that to take choral music for an example, I am equally inspired by lyrics as I am by lyricism, the way that the lyrics are sung, the dynamics, everything that entails. My choral teacher from middle school said it very well when she said, "You are your instrument." The voice is an instrument, and it is as powerful, and in a way, perhaps more so than manipulating a mechanical meaning external instrument. Yes, of course, when I play the piano and in my thus far limited experience playing the guitar, I certainly feel a connection to those instruments. And there is a uh, profound passion that you can exude playing an external instrument. But in some respects, I would say there's even more involved vocally, because given that the instrument is directly integrated into your own body, more is required to convey the emotion that is needed to convey. It is all encompassing inside you. So I have had years of experience I've been in honors choruses in middle and high school. I was in the Maryland All-State Junior Chorus in 8th grade in middle school. I was in choirs throughout college. It is a truly transformative experience, not just the singing itself, but singing in an ensemble. I am in a local choral group here, and it's wonderful the connections you make, not just musically, but the way you can connect in socialization with people. using the music as a vehicle. So those experiences have been very powerful for me, very transformative. And I would say one of the reasons for me to have the desire to pursue music therapy in order to foster that connection, in order to benefit people even more directly. Yes, as I said before, I'm humbled by how well I seem to be able to connect with people through my radio show and through my discussion of music and through my playing of music. But if I choose to pursue, and I would have to go back to school for a degree equivalency, which would be a very interesting, good experience. If I choose to pursue the career of music therapy, then ultimately, with whatever population or populations I choose to work with, I would be more directly using music to affect people's lives. And that would be an opportunity I would cherish.
Yeah, absolutely. It is that is a really fascinating thing for sure. Yeah, yeah. You're very right that we as people are always connected to song and to music. And we're connected, as you know, because of not only because of the mathematical elements of music, but because our brains and bodies need that. We need that music to help us feel good. Music is basically a almost like a natural form of medicine for people. And I find that music can be and is very healing indeed. So you are very right about that. Yeah, that is a very interesting thing. So, yeah, how many years would it take for you to get a degree in music therapy? Would it be a master's degree or how does that actually work?
I could do one of two options. I could either go for a degree equivalency, which I would have to look up again to get the the exact figures, but I believe that depending on what courses I've already taken from my Bachelor of Arts degree that would count towards it, I believe a degree equivalency would take from 1.5 to maybe 3 years. I think a master's degree would probably be more like 3 years. Uh, so I think the only difference the difference would be a degree equivalency would be receiving a music therapy degree as if I had gone to a college with a music therapy program. All I have is I have a Bachelor of Arts degree that is a music major and psychology minor. But as far as my music major, it's just a general music degree. I don't have a music therapy focus. If I had gone to a college with a music therapy program, then I would have already had, I believe I would have already had a certification, or I would have had the tools already to be certified as a music therapist. So getting a degree equivalency would be ultimately like getting a college degree in music therapy. A master's degree would be, I believe, entering and achieving certification from a graduate program.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I would just wonder what universities have this program, by the way, in music therapy. Is it something you can easily find, or are there very few, or how common is this program?
I think it is a field that is receiving a lot more attention. And I am fairly certain that there are several programs throughout the country that are either fully online or mostly online. I think in most cases it's primarily on those that have online elements are primarily online, but then you have to go somewhere for practical exams and such things, some practical elements. But I believe that there are quite a few in-person programs as well. I know that there is a university not far from me that offers a music therapy program. It's called Appalachian State University. I don't recall off the top of my head whether it is fully in person or mainly online, or whether both options exist. But I believe that geographically speaking, that is the closest one to me.
Excellent. Very good. Yeah. I would say if you want to get into that field, I would say that you could be potentially a perfect candidate for that. So, you should
Thank you.
definitely delve into that.
I
And
will.
why a minor in psychology? Clearly you have an interest in the way people behave and think too. So what do you think about human behavior and thought?
I've always been interested in human behavior and thought. I took an AP psychology course in my senior year of high school, which fostered that even more. And I think that's what encouraged me to get that accompanying degree in psychology. And I think it was also an interesting supplement to my music degree, going back to what I said earlier about how the impact of music on our minds, on our beings. And psychology, through its different disciplines, offers attempts to achieve the same thing, to heal our minds from within using different analytical techniques. So in psychology just uses different strategies to determine what resonates with you, what helps you, what can ultimately benefit you mentally and emotionally and otherwise.
Absolutely. And certainly that when you listen to music, it impacts you usually in a positive way, which then of course impacts your thoughts. So the connection between it all is that the music part is part of our psyche as people, is what you would have to be able to express really. And you're very right. You did it well, but you're absolutely right that if we listened to more music and more classical music, we would be more analytical. We'd be more logical thinkers, and things like that. And we would have probably more people would have a more happier lives than they are right now.
Oh,
That's kind of my theory, is that if people were to focus a little bit more on the arts and were to have more of a focus on that, then there would be perhaps people would be less. I mean, all people are neurotic. I mean, but all people, we as people are crazy after all. If it wasn't for, and I'm sure that's true because of course, Dr. Seuss would have said, you don't have to be crazy to live on earth with people, but it certainly helps if you are. So all people are a little bit neurotic, but certainly there are things we can do to mitigate and manage our craziness. And one of them is to have an appreciation and a root, I would say, in music or in art or in some form of expressing ourselves, whether it is playing the piano, the flute, voice, for us, but other people have to paint, right? Or draw or act, but people need to do that. Why? Because it helps them. It's helpful to them. That's has always been
absolutely.
my perception. So what do you like to play on the piano?
I love to play Bach inventions, Chopin preludes, I like also to play songs from musicals and to improvise a little bit. I also like to dabble in jazz. As I said, I took a couple
Sure.
semesters of jazz piano, so I enjoy that as well.
That's fun. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, great. What about what do you think of Beethoven? Because there's something very specific that I'm thinking that's one of my because I always have my favorite flute pieces that I love were the to be or not to be of the flute, but there's one particular Beethoven piece that really stands out to me that really is just the exemplification of the piano. Do you know what it is? I'm sure you know exactly what I'm thinking about.
Ah, so you're asking about a flute piece in particular?
No, no, no. I'm
Oh,
asking
okay.
you. No, I'm just saying that there were several pieces that I played on the flute that were the to be or
Oh,
not
the
to be of
example.
the flute.
Okay.
But what I'm asking you is, can you think of it? Because it just jumps right off my
Uh,
tongue. I don't even have to think.
I,
If you were to illustrate the power, the beauty, and the spirituality of the piano, what Beethoven piece would you play?
Ooh. um, my first thought would be the Moonlight Sonata.
No.
No.
Incredibly
Well,
beautiful, but no. I'm
yes. No.
thinking, okay, hold on.
How
Hold on.
about,
I'm thinking of
uh,
something, think of something very, that sounds very dramatic and very strong and very boisterous,
ah,
very
well,
magical. Yeah.
two come to mind there. The Appassionata, closely followed by the Volstein.
Not, perhaps not quite what I
Or
was thinking. Yeah. Hmm.
and very much closely followed as well by the Pathétique.
Still not what I was thinking.
Oh, and interesting. Where were you going? What were you thinking? I'm very curious.
Okay. Do you want me to give you one more hint? Because once I say it, you'll know exactly why I was thinking it. Yeah.
All right, please give me a hint.
The, it is one of the concertos. And one of
Oh,
the,
concertos. Okay. Yes.
okay, do you know which one it is now?
I think I may be getting warmer, but okay, continue.
The name of the concerto is the name of a word that can be described to describe a leader.
Oh, a lead. Wait, the Emperor Concerto.
You got it. Nothing is more magical on the piano than the third movement of the Emperor Concerto. It's utterly, utterly spectacular. Yeah. So if you ever go to a concert and that's on the menu and that's on the program, that's going to be an incredible, it's utterly stunning. I think that's the best thing that was ever written for piano and orchestra. Third movement, Emperor Concerto. Yeah. You should illustrate it next time. So
I
can you
certainly
play,
will.
so can you play that one pretty well?
I have not played that concerto, unfortunately, but I do plan to extend my repertoire, definitely. And Beethoven, he is truly sublime, and even that word does not seem to do
Yeah.
it justice.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that one in particular with me with music, either it's perfectly written and then when it's perfectly written, it's perfect forever. And that third movement, that victorious third movement of that concerto, that's as good as it like that's like perfect writing. Like that there's nothing that could be done. There's nothing that could be done to that piece to either enhance it or diminish it or to diminish it. It's just what it is. It's just there, you know. Certain pieces are like that for flute too. I never got to play it. I never had the chance to get all the way there in the flute repertoire, but a person by the name of a French woman, a couple, I don't know when she was alive, but it was a woman by the name of Chaminade. And Chaminade
yes, I was
can,
thinking, yeah.
yeah, oh, you knew that one. Oh, that's a little bit more obscure. That's intriguing that you knew what that was. Yeah, Chaminade's
Uh,
Concerto in D for flute. Yeah.
yes,
Hmm.
I love it. Yes, and it's so beautifully dynamic. It's enthralling every time I hear it. I have featured it in my
It's an easy one
show.
to, but you know why that one is so enthralling. It's pretty simple to play. It's just simply based on different scales. It's simply based on running up and
Yes.
down scales the whole time. That's why it sounds like that because those notes are already perfectly mathematically coordinated. So it's actually not, when you stop and think about that intellectually, That's not a very sophisticated song at all. That's why it's good, because it's simple. That's why it sounds so good. Yeah, in actuality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a subtlety there with music could sound very simplistic when in fact it's written very technically, or music could sound very technical as Chaminades does, but it's actually very simplistic. I simply never got around to it, but it would be certainly an incredible, if you're a flutist out there and you want to play that one. That's also one of my favorites. So I guess, certain things have a special place in my heart for music at a concert. If I was writing a concert, if I was going to sit in the front row, okay, the pianist has to give me Movement 3 Emperor Concerto and the flutist has to do Chaminade. Um, or, or 314, Mozart's 314 or 314. Yeah, the most famous one, the Concerto in D for flute and orchestra. That's either three. What are my numbers now? I'm forgetting the KV number. It's either
I don't
314,
recall. Yeah.
the 314 or the 313. One of those. The 313 is there's. I know I'm mixing up the numbers, but one of them is in G, is in golf, and the other one's in D for Delta. But they're very similar. Those are very similar. Um, those are very, very similarly written, similar time period, similar style, but then also the flute also has something that I never played and I never really was terribly impressed by it, but it actually is technical. It's known as Bach's the partita.
Oh, yes, I've heard.
Yeah, which is a very special thing. Flutists would say, if I was on a desert island and I could only hear one sound, it would be Bach's partita, which is a very strange, a very awkward, a very kind of ominous technical piece that I guess it was probably written to teach people back then, probably because it's not very pretty. It's not very aesthetic, to the mind and to the heart and soul, but it's very fun to play it if you're very technical. And I was never really a technical guy. I was into the concertos. I always had a fixation with the concerto style. Um, but that's just me. I always like that flashy concerto style. That's really cool. That can be really fun. If you get musicians who can really put it on, that's really, really stunning. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. That's really, really, really cool. Yeah. Um, so okay, so that's good. And then let's really geek out about the internet radio stuff. So you're very right. And in a few minutes, we'll turn it over to the South Africa office of Aaron's Opinion, and he's sitting here in the audience. He's on mute now, but so Intervision's radio network. I've heard of it over the years. Not terribly familiar with the history. I've spoken with Gary Kammerer. He's been on the show. Of course, you know him.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah, Gary's great. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, he is.
We haven't spoken. I haven't heard from him in a bit, but he does a lot of important work for DJs and music and internet radio. So what can you tell me about the Intervisions radio network? How did that? So what do you? For one thing, do you know the station manager there, by the way, or at least the CEO?
Yes, I do. The
Okay, that's
CEO is Shalia Rains, and the manager is Sean Oliver. They're both very good people, very dedicated. Shalia is definitely, she definitely has a wonderful vision and as I said, a lot of passion as well. I don't know the ins and outs of the history as such. I don't recall all the details, but I do know that its mission statement is to bring people together and to be like a family, to foster connection, similar to the theme I was discussing earlier.
you were absolutely. Hmm.
Yes, so that is the main thing that drew me to the station.
Hmm.
And in fact, there are going to be some changes. I can't really go into it all yet because nothing has been publicly released, but there has been an evolution of the slogan, whereas for several years now it has been seeing with your ears. The new slogan to more key on how the station wants to affect people and really be transformative to people. The new slogan is healing your heart with hope. So I think that's a very transformative message.
Hmm.
And it really speaks personally to my view of what I'd like to do through my broadcasting, through my musical composition and performances and through my potential music therapy career.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, what do you think? Do you think we could get connected with both the CEO and station manager? Because I would love to interview them here on Aaron's Opinion.
I
They are
I
so
will
welcome
speak to
here.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I will speak to them and see, and I will get them in contact with you if that's all right.
But absolutely. That's more than all right. That's fabulous. It's always about
Okay.
building, not only is it building great episodes, but it's about, so who's next? Who do we need to further the connection with? And that's a great, these radio stations can provide a lot, for the world in podcasting by simply connecting us and simply building the connection and the rapport. It's so good. It's so, so good. Yeah, absolutely. Um, but that's really good. So there's your show. You have a show on there, right?
Yes, I do.
What was your, so you said, by the way, that you needed to learn some things about internet radio. So internet radio is having a bit of a renaissance. It's having a bit of a rebirth these days. What can you really tell us about how internet radio works? Because for much of history, it was terrestrial radio, but now we have this new version of radio called internet. So if anyone doesn't know, what would you tell them in maybe a couple sentences? What's internet radio?
Internet radio is essentially using the computer and a mixer or audio interface if one has those tools and chooses to use them. Using those tools to perform similar functions as would be performed on terrestrial radio using a board or whatever tools they use. I have not actually broadcast on terrestrial radio, so I can't speak to the ins and outs of that. Sean would definitely be qualified to do that, but I will say that from what I understand, there are software and controls on the computer and on mixers and such that can perform similar, if not the same functions. I use a software that I've used ever since I started internet broadcasting in 2014. I use a software called Station Playlist Studio. I don't recall the pricing off the top of my head, but I do have a software license, and the software also has a companion software called Creator that can be used for automation, scheduling, that sort of thing. I do not have that software, nor do I have a need yet to use it, but I'm just letting listeners know that that option is also available through that same company. I find Station Playlist very easy to use, and it also has for screen reader users like myself. I use NVDA, and there is an NVDA add-on that provides supplemental accessibility controls. And for those out there that use JAWS for Windows, there are JAWS scripts that you can purchase that will provide similar functionality.
Yeah, really fascinating. So with this station playlist software, anybody can be connected to any station that also needs, in other words, you can connect your station playlist to any station that also uses station playlist. So it's kind of like a way of connecting the whole system of internet radio around the universe.
Yes.
It's really incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So I will explain a little more about the mechanics. So I paste songs into a playlist in the main studio window, the software, the main part of the program. I paste in songs. And so just like with a word processor, you can put in sentences and then manipulate the sentences, move them around. I can cut and paste and move songs around in the playlist. I also record my archives, and the way that I connect to the station is there's another window called the encoder window, and the encoder is the pipeline from my system and then it takes it to, you connect to the station's server. And so then whatever you play out from the studio software is broadcast via the encoder onto the server for the station and then played out on the, from the streaming link. So that is how that all works.
Yeah, it's really when you stop and think about it, it's really spectacular because any host who has the software, who buys the software, is able to be given that privilege if they are deemed
Yes,
to be allowed to do that. So that's why it's also very powerful, and that's also in an intellectual sense of vulnerability too. There's a lot of room for vulnerability,
it
actually.
can be. Yes.
So that is quite fascinating. So certainly, when you're broadcasting your show, does the station manager kind of technically hover, not really hover, but are they like a muted admin that would be able to help you if you simply made a mistake, or if something kind of, if the software kind of went bonkers, because you know how software can do that, so
Oh,
is it possible
yes.
for the station to kind of take over if things get a little out of control? Yeah.
Yes, it is. The
Okay.
management is always on call. We have a text group where the managers can communicate. Also, most broadcasters choose to broadcast from the Team Talk server. So what I mean by that, Team Talk is a commercial client. It doesn't seem to be as popular generally in the US as, say, Zoom, Clubhouse, or Discord, but it has a lot of accessibility, which has improved over the years. I have used it ever since 2014. It is, I've been on various servers, and the Intervisions Radio Network has a Team Talk server. So, what I do is there is an on-air channel on our server where I go in and I use virtual audio cable. Now I used, Sean assisted me in setting up the software, so that everything could be connected properly and all of that. But what I do is, in addition to broadcasting to what I call the outside stream, broadcasting to the station, onto the station server where anyone can, access the streaming link and listen. I also am on the station's Team Talk server in the on-air channel, and anybody who'd like to come in who has access to the server is more than welcome to do so. And I am then able to, I also have the facility to stream the content of what I broadcast into the Team Talk channel so that anyone who is with me in the channel is able to not only listen on the server through my stream, but they can also talk to me live while the music is playing. So they talk about the music. And if anyone wants to speak on air, Sean also set up for me the ability, it's called Line In. It's a function of Station Playlist Studio. So when I can turn on my microphone so I can speak on air, but I also, if people wish to speak on air, I turn on Line In, which allows those in the channel with me to be heard, and they can speak on air as well, and we can have discussions.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really
It
cool.
really is.
When you actually stop and think about how easy this is to use, and when you stop and think about how much power that software has, I mean, that's a ridiculous authority. It's really ridiculous that we're living in a society where we can just say, oh, let's just be on Zoom and record something, and then, oh, it gets into my RSS, and then, oh, magically, oh, it's being downloaded in Australia on Apple Podcast. When you
That is
stop and think
incredible.
about, well, when you stop and think about the incredibility of that, I mean, 10 years ago, this would have been something that would have been very, very hard to do 10 years ago, Whereas now,
Absolutely.
this is the podcasting and Zoom. This software has become much, much easier to use over time as people have used it in all over the world. It's become a lot more, the accessibility and the ease of use has grown tremendously. And it is truly, truly invaluable to to everybody, but especially certainly to Aaron's Opinion, our family here at Aaron's Opinion, and the listeners and people like that from all over the world. So, has anyone like called into the show before and what get advertise it? So, how does that work? Let's say that that I have a comment or that I want to add something to your show, and I want to line in. So, how does that actually work during the show on a Friday? Yeah.
So if you would like to participate on Team Talk for the live interaction aspect of the show, you need to apply for an account on the server. That is in order for that, to make sure that anyone who goes on the server does not cause drama or anything like that.
Oh, I know about that. So it's always a problem. Always a problem. Yeah, it's always something that needs to be managed. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, but for other forms of interaction, the station has a Telegram group.
Really? You guys use Telegram? Wow. Ooh
Yes,
la
we
la,
do.
Telegram. Yeah, Telegram, because we at Aaron's Opinion, we're very fluent. We're in the WhatsApp thing because we have a private WhatsApp group. I'll send you after the conversation later today. You'll get the private WhatsApp group for the guests, but then there's also a WhatsApp community too. We're really into the WhatsApp. The WhatsApp is powerful
Oh, wonderful.
too. Yeah, WhatsApp's incredibly powerful because it's a global platform. Why Telegram? Telegram has, I mean, I know what it is. It's less popular, less globalized than WhatsApp. So why Telegram? Yeah.
Well, I think, I don't want to speak for any other member of management, but I surmise that Telegram has been primary in that respect because of the seeming greater flexibility that can be achieved. By that I mean it's more easily usable on the PC. We don't have any Mac users on the team at the moment, so I can't speak for usability on the Mac. But as far as the PC, I and many of our other broadcasters, if not all, use a program called Tweezcake, which integrates Telegram, Mastodon. It used to have X, formerly Twitter, but support sadly got discontinued for that. And it also has a radio stream listening capability as well, but I have not gotten that to work for months. But anyway, that's just me. But Tweezcake is an all-in-one application which has the option of having either a window interface, a GUI, I believe that stands for guided user interface.
That sounds about right.
Okay, so you either have you can use it either with a window, or you can hide the GUI so you can use an invisible user interface. I choose to use the invisible user interface because it's one less window I have to have open, and also I can use keystrokes to easily flip between my different sessions. A session is a different functionality, so I can flip from my Telegram, my Mastodon, the station's and the station's Mastodon. So I can flip sessions, I can scroll up and down my chats, I can have different chats open all without a window. So I find that to be very flexible. I am told that WhatsApp's fairly easy to use on the PC, but I have not delved into that, and I have no idea whether you can use a windowless interface with that. So, but please understand, listeners, this is all just my personal experience.
Sure.
And my,
I've been getting a lot of interesting comments about the WhatsApp. No, people at one point, people were able to use WhatsApp on PC and were able to actually go to the website and just use it through that. But then again, I take that back in a sense because I've gotten some feedback that says, no, Aaron, now WhatsApp's not allowing that now for some strange reason. They're saying, no, you have to have a phone number to get in now. I think what was happening was WhatsApp realized that too many people were taking advantage of the software to be able to encrypt messages and pass stuff around. So I think that they changed it now where you have to add a number, and things like that. It's not going to be a problem for you. It's obviously you have an American number, so it's not going to be any issue. But for people who live overseas, it can be a little bit more challenging if they have to have a specific SIM card number to get into it and things like that. I was always under the impression that it's doable online without a number, but no, not anymore. I think there's been a change in that because I think there's been some new security upgrade. My groups are secured, by the way. They're both private groups that you would have to accept and request to be pulled into.
Okay.
I was just dealing with that earlier. You know, nothing is perfect. Somebody wanted to join, somebody who was more than welcome. Well, one of the guests that was just on yesterday wanted to join one of the groups and she somehow was rejected. And I have no idea how or why that happened. It's no matter. So sometimes I have to manually send a link or help someone get into a group. But I'd rather that there be a little bit too much security than no security. So you gotta keep your
Absolutely.
groups locked and you have to have them secured. And then you have to be aware of when somebody comes in and what it looks like so that you can kind of intercept the entrance. But that's a lot of fun stuff there. That is a tremendous activity that you're doing. What about your listeners on your classical collections show? Are they from all over the world or, because now you'll have a download from me. Now you'll have a listener in South Africa, but you'll have listeners all
Oh,
over now. But
wonderful.
yeah. Yeah, we'll put him on in a minute, towards the end, because I know that he has a question. So I want him to be thinking of his questions and gearing up because he's loving this conversation, I'm sure. But so
Oh, I'm
what can
glad.
you do? What can you tell me about the listener base of Intervision's radio network?
I would say that it is generally US based now, but there are also listeners from the UK and from Australia. Sean is from Australia. I don't know if you know him or have heard of him, but he is from Adelaide, South
Oh,
Australia.
great. No, I don't think, and are you saying his name is Sean Oliver? Is that the name?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't believe the answer is okay. Now you know now, of course, as I say, prepare to laugh. I don't think I've interviewed a Sean Oliver, but I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think I have, but just because I don't think I've interviewed him, it doesn't mean I haven't. It just means maybe not, or maybe a long time ago. I don't think so. It's it's unlikely that he's ever heard of an Aaron's opinion, but then again, there's been people that have come to me and that I've interviewed and I said, so how long have you known of Aaron's opinion? Oh, I've been listening to you the whole time for 4 years. And I said, well, why didn't you say anything if you were listening for 4 years? People do that all the time. So it's probable that he might, I doubt it, but I won't be surprised if he says, oh, if you go to Sean Oliver and you say, oh, there's this guy named Aaron Richmond and he has Aaron's opinion. And he might say, what? Never heard of the guy. Or he might say, oh yeah, I've been listening to him for 4 years. I've been waiting for him to talk to me.
Well, I will certainly ask him and let you know what he says.
Sure. Both of them are welcome. In fact, I think I generally I don't do more than one guest on one call because I think that actually can create a cacophony. But in some cases, that would be a blast to get Sean and then the CEO, the actual owner of that station, all on one three-way episode. That would be a blast. Yeah,
I think it
definitely.
would be too.
Yeah, well, let's do that. But anyway, yeah. So you have listeners from your show is listened to, and again, I keep using the word download because podcasting is so dependent on. If you wonder why certain podcasts are shown to you, it's because of the rate of download. It's basically an equation: downloads, and then they look at the ratings and reviews, and that's basically what it is. How many downloads, how many ratings, how many reviews. That's basically what it is what pushes it
Okay.
forward. Yeah. So that's what gives it the value is based on how much, because plays are important because plays are active, but downloads are important because downloads are futuristic. In other words, if you download, you're saving it. And then that counts as basically a vote or a save. So yeah, it's a very interesting thing. Where the key difference here though is that internet radio, just as terrestrial, is and was based upon the number of listeners within a given play hour. So it's a little bit of a different measurement when you think about that. Yeah. It's more about how many listeners are listening right this second. And podcast is more about, well, what can you tell me about the future projection? You see, it's a slightly similar equation, but a different equation. Yeah. It's measured differently. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So now you have a 3 hour show for classical music, which is quite spectacular, actually. That's quite an honor to have 3 hours. That's very generous. So how many listeners do you get each of those hours?
Well, I do not check the IceCast listening page as often as I probably should, but I I think that the outside listeners are not as much as those that can be listening on Team Talk. I'm not sure though, because I would get numbers, say like 6, 7, 10, on the current listener stream. But as I say, I'm unsure of how accurate that is and what that takes into account. Also, it should be noted that from what I understand, a lot of the listener interaction, a lot of the listenership for the station generally comes from the Get Me Radio skill on the Amazon device. I don't want to say her name, it'll trigger mine, but that device. And I don't know how that is reflected in the statistics.
It's reflected. So the answer is that if the statistics are accurate, if they're provided by the right company, then it reflects it all. So it's a reflection on all the different aggregators that could be pulling the listener. So it's accurate. If you see 12, it means there's 12 people. Whether they be listening on Get Me Radio or not, or some other platform, that part is less important. The point is the number.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it has the engine. Absolutely. And what else? What else does this amazing station offer? So they have you, and then what else is there on that station?
On Saturdays from 2 to 5 Eastern, there is a lady named Caitlin who goes by the Evil Chocolate Cookie on the radio.
Oh, I heard that. I've heard of that one. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
what does she talk
from
about?
Kentucky. She does a variety show called The Cookie Jar. So she does have a theme each week, and she plays quite a different variety of quite a variety of genres. I tuned into her last weekend, and she plays. I've heard her go from what I describe as soft rock to country. She really runs the gambit. I not only like her music choices, but I also like her personality. She's very animated. She comes across very friendly on air.
Good. Let's get her. Let's get her
that.
here. Let's get her on air. Let's have a cookie jar episode. Let's pull her over here. Let's get her.
Okay. I will speak to her about that.
Go for it. Don't stop talking. One thing I remember about you is you love to talk. So don't stop talking. Get people on this show.
Okay.
Pull this thing. Pull it over here.
Absolutely. Another broadcaster we have her name is Celeste, but she goes by DJ Cell Rock on air. She does a show on a Monday afternoon from 4 to 7 Eastern called the Monday Spot. That's another variety show with the theme. I think her approach is a bit different than the Evil Chocolate Cookies. Unfortunately, I don't really have much occasion to listen to DJ Cell Rock because the start of that show is leading up to when I have to get a quick dinner and get ready for a choir rehearsal. So I unfortunately don't get much opportunity to listen to DJ Cell Rock. But from what I have heard,
we're sure. Well, it all sounds wonderful, and that would lead up. And from what you've heard, yes, go ahead. What from what you've heard, what?
Oh, from what I've heard, she does do a really interesting show, and she puts a lot. I have read her posts. She puts a lot of care in how she organizes her shows and how she engages the listeners, even just by her writing. So I really like that.
Well, that's really good. Well, that's really good. Okay. Well, that's really excellent. I can already feel it coming on. I can already feel an Intervision's Radio Network playlist here at Aaron's Opinion, because with YouTube, I can set up playlists. So if we compile a video of your video and then everybody else at Intervisions, we can have a full playlist that then they would be able to have at their disposal to be able to tell people to not only watch the episodes, but it's a great way to learn about the different hosts and things like that. So that's really,
that would be excellent.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. No problem. Yeah, that's really, really incredible. All right. Any other shows that you want to highlight from that station?
Well, it is on hiatus at the moment, but I have co-hosted with Shalia a gospel show called Power and Praise. That's on Sundays. That's on Sundays from 2 to 5 Eastern. in the afternoon. So that's the same time slot as my show on Friday. And I've enjoyed that. I enjoy working with her. I enjoy putting together the playlists, and she's a very passionate about her faith, and she she reads messages from the Bible and has
Wonderful.
divinely
So
inspired
good.
messages. And then we play music, worship music, gospel music. It has been very enjoyable to co-host that show.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's really, really good. All right. Well, I think that about rounds it out today. I think we've taken a huge bite into the amazing life that you have and the amazing personality that you have cultivated over all the important work you do. So you ready? Why don't we go over to South Africa? All right. So get ready, Latabo. His name is Latabo. I'm sure you've heard of Latabo before. He's pretty active around the community. I don't know if you've specifically heard of the guy, but here he comes. Okay, so, all right, let's get. All right, so here we go. Latabo, South Africa. Go right there.
Let me just say good evening, everyone. First of all, can you guys hear me?
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, there was a problem yesterday, but perfectly now,
Oh,
man. No worries about that. Yeah, go right ahead. What's your question for Jenny?
okay.
I'm sure you have a question. Sure.
Yeah, I do have, but wow. I mean, I just want to comment on what you were saying, because like I heard a bit of it, about, the music that she plays and everything like that. Because even for me, like because I'm someone who like listens to music a lot. Sometimes I would like listen to variety of like what you call genres of music, but most times I like listen to hip hop, and it has those kind of classical pieces that you guys talk about. So I'm not a classical fan, but well, I listen to that as well. Well, for me, my most interest is more onto radio, because obviously, as you know, Aaron, I'm also on radio, on a what do you call this, internet radio station as well. So I just want to ask, what what did influence you to be caught in the web of being in the radio station?
So, as I mentioned before, my draw toward internet radio, and really my cognizance of its existence, started in 2014. I was in a transitional period. I went from a lot of in-person interaction at a training program I attended for a year, and then I got back home and I was wondering what to do, and I didn't have as many networks. And so then I came across a group where I did some virtual networking, and this organization had an internet radio station attached. So I was taught the fundamentals of the station playlist software, and I broadcasted just a variety of programming. And then I continued broadcasting a variety of programming on another station, and then I ended up on a station after that, starting to do a classical show, really getting more into my own personal niche of broadcasting the music that I most wanted to speak about, and that to which I was most passionately connected. And so then that led me to broadcasting on Intervisions, where I am doing a similar classical show, but expanding it and expanding my level of content.
Oh, well, that is awesome, because for me, like when you talk about station playlist, because I've used it before. It was like 2 years back when I started being on radio. Well, it's only Hood Radio, which is um, it's something that I started with. But if I would ask you, like, have you ever heard of a software called Radio Bus before?
I have heard of it. I've never used it. Do you find it more user friendly?
It is because usually when people like they encode them, the what you call this, our CEO like calls me to like assist them. Sometimes like to insert jingles, like I would like, cause I'm also like someone who likes to be close to their computers all the time. Cause like I would like maybe assist them in terms of getting music being placed on correct playlist dashboard, and also like inserting their jingles or even sound effects. Because usually we do that like uh I can say maybe it depends on like someone, if someone wants to like join our team, obviously. So because most of the time like if maybe the person maybe can't reach me, they would do it alone. But sometimes they would like ask me afterwards. They would like ask me, okay, like how do you do this? How do you do that? And I would like explain to them how do they do that. But sometimes, but my main challenge is that um, to add something, they will ask me like which keystroke it is, and it becomes a problem because sometimes I would like not know which keystroke to like um how can I put this, to assign or to say, because sometimes like I would have to go to like the internet, maybe I'm using Chrome or I'm using Edge depending on like which browser I use, and then or like search for the keystroke that they want, but sometimes that keystroke doesn't work because of their screen reader and all that. Because usually for me, I just use a mouse. So for me, I just hover with my mouse and all that. But it becomes a challenge because sometimes if someone has to use like NVDA or JAWS, sometimes it could be a problem with that.
Yes, I can understand that. So how do you look
Mm.
up the keystrokes for the people if you are not sure what the keystrokes are?
Well, I just go to the Radio Boss website and then I just check for the keystrokes, which keystrokes
Oh,
are
okay.
assigned to which. Yeah, so I just go to like the Radio Boss's website and then I search for those keystrokes. And then after searching for those keystrokes, then that's when obviously like I will like see which keystrokes goes where and which ones are assigned and all that so that people can get access to their content.
Excellent. Well, please let me
Yeah.
know, however you'd like to convey it. Let me know the information about your show and your station because I'm also interested. It's very nice to meet you, by the way, Latabo.
Same
Uh,
here, same here.
And later, so
Thank you.
later today, I will send you the links and we'll pull you into the group. Great
Okay,
interaction,
thank you.
Latavo. I do want to say, I do want to say that,
Uh-huh.
hold on just one moment here. Because before we go, we want to give a huge Aaron's Opinion welcome to somebody new who has sat down in the audience. Her name is Candace. And she is, from what I heard around the blindness community, a very hard worker. She does a lot of great work for people all over the world. And she didn't come in when we started, but as you were talking, Latabo, she actually sat down. So I've been wanting to interview
Yeah.
her a little bit too, and I think she's always kind of had a fascination, and she's always wanted um, to kind of have the experience of getting to talk to me kind of in this setting. So now I don't know if she's going to say anything or not, but let's see. So. Bu- 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 Let me try to find. Let's see here. Let's see what we can do about getting maybe. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Candace. All right. Go. You may ask one question. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you, Candace. I'm sure you've been kind of curious about this, and you've always wanted to see what this is like. So, how's it going, Candace? She might be too shy. I don't know. Anyway,
No, she's muted.
oh, she's still muted.
She's
Okay,
muted.
I triggered it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, Candace, but Candace, I promise I will certainly send you the video and you can certainly watch this from the beginning. I would say, to the audience, that it's important to come in on time and then this would be a little bit easier. I don't know if it's not one, I don't know, or perhaps, or very probably, maybe she didn't plug in her mic. Maybe she only has her headset. I don't know. That might be what that is. Maybe she doesn't want to. Maybe she doesn't want to. But Candace, we'll definitely give you the video, and you can see the conversation from the very beginning. So that's great. So Candace, thanks for joining us. We'll connect soon. All right. Anyway, Latabo, thank you as always. Back to you, Jenny, to round it all out and to walk to the finale or the conclusion of a truly touching episode. So, if someone wants to get in touch with Jenny Suchan, how can they do it?
Well, if for anything station related or just in general, I do have an email address for the station. Jenny, that's Jenny, Jenny at inner-visions.net. People can also connect with me on Telegram. My Telegram username is JenCat, JenKat, capital J and capital K.
Very good. Thank you so much. And I think, I forget, did you send me a description for the episode? I think you did, right?
I don't recall having done so. I will put something in there. What I probably will do, because I don't see why this would be a problem. I will just get you the description directly from what I put on the schedule. What I had.
Just copy and paste.
Yes.
Perfect. That worked perfectly. All right. All right. Well, Jenny Suchan, as I said, I remembered you from the past, from 12 years ago. I remembered you over the years. And over the summer, you connected and liked Aaron's opinion. And I asked you, and I think you started out being a little apprehensive. You weren't so sure, but I got to tell you, that was some of the best monologue we've ever heard in the history of hearing great monologues. And you're just so plugged in and so connected. And all I want is for you to be super successful because you are doing an incredible, incredible show. We will definitely get you hooked up with our WhatsApps later today. I got work to get to today, and then I got some other stuff that I got to do and things like that. But certainly before the evening is out, you'll have all the necessary information for our various groups. And I just want to say, from my heart to yours, thank you. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, and okay, here we go. Okay. All right. There we go. There's that button there. Okay, good. Anyway, Candace, again, I cannot thank you enough for, following through and joining, too late, I think. But we will definitely send you, I'll definitely get you the video and you can watch this. And I would say to any audience member, I would say to come with your I don't think she connected to computer audio. Probably she didn't connect her audio interface. That's probably why it's like that. So I would say if you want to ask a question, you should have your headset ready. But also, it's a great way for people to watch the episode. So there you go. So thank you to Latabo. As always, Jenny and Candace, thank you to all three of you. Interestingly, all of us are friends on Facebook, so this will be a very fun one to post out with all the appropriate tagging and everything like that. So anyway, though, thank you so much. And of course, as Latabo likes to say, Latabo, go for it. What's our slogan, by the way? Uh-oh, I think he muted. Okay, no matter. Anyway, as we like to say, thank you, Jenny. We'll connect later today. And that was a fabulous, fabulous experience. Thank you so much, everybody. We will be back soon. Take care. We'll see you next time. Help one person today. Help 1 million people tomorrow.